Hello, good evening and welcome along to Business Today. I'm Jerome Sonko with Winnie Wins and Akauchi on sign language. But first, let's have a look at our top stories.
In Business Today, 3 a.m. Infano Guts Kashwara Group factory in Jinja, property worth billions lost and over 1,000 jobs cited. Northern Corridor trade route registers increase in flow of goods following William Ruto's reversal of clearing rights to Mombasa. And Uganda Lorry Corporation suspends passenger services for 6 months as SGR project attains shape.
All right, now we start off with the Uganda Railways Corporation, which has suspended passenger services. They have decided to suspend the passenger services as it undertakes rehabilitation for 6 months. Now, the commuters that utilize the track within Greater Kampala metropolitan area are to reconsider their options, as government is as well set to lose over 252 million Ugandan shillings in cost of the infrastructure revamp. We have more with Samuel Kirimunda. Revamp of the country's railway network is closing in on commencement as Uganda Railways Corporation decides to suspend passenger services along Kampala-Namamve line. The SGR project remains a key issue in the upcoming financial year as government moves to achieve its integrated infrastructure agenda. According to Uganda Railways Corporation spokesperson Linon Sengendo, commuters shall bear for the next 6 months as it is with government set to lose 252 million.
Rehabilitation of the line is going to commence to happen from Kampala to Mukono. Now the intention is to extend the service to serve the people of Mukono, but also gradually we want to extend it to Lugazi and further to Jinja. So that is the reason why we suspended the passenger service. Currently we've been plying Kampala Namamve, but for the next 6 months, we are going to work on in the first phase, we are going to work on the Kampala, Namamve, and then in the second phase, it will be Namamve, Mukono.
As Kampala pushes for a fast and robust transport network targeting 0.5 minutes per kilometer via railway network, a facelift through the standard gauge railway project remains crucial, with commuters currently spending about 45 minutes between Kampala and Mukono. Similarly, the heavy land and road traffic will still be resolved as currently the capacity of about 28 taxis is taken on by the 5 wagons.
So averagely, every trip that we take off more than 28 taxis. Passengers that can sit in more than 28 taxis, and we take them in one route from Kampala to Namamve. So, there we have created a lot of space on the roads and actually reduced on jam. And we are talking about taxis, but there are also those personal vehicles. Someone who parks somewhere and opts to use passenger train, remember we're also reducing on the traffic on the roads. And if you reduce on the traffic, we're also saving the environment. So going forward, I know the corporation has big plans of expanding passenger. And going forward, I think it will be the best option for everyone once we expand to different parts of the country.
Current developments on Kampala's disjointed transport network and Uganda at large targets 462 kilometers of rail and 7,500 kilometers of paved national roads by 2025. Meanwhile, commuters have perceived the progress on railway infrastructure with mixed reactions owing to transport hardships within the city.
I can use only 6,000 while going at work and going back home, and I can save extra money, and it is too cheap.
They are not so effective, but because there is jam whenever you're in the taxi, but the train there is no.
The standard gauge railway project is one of the major considerations by both government and public as the country's demand for fast and efficient communication, movement of goods and services grows. Samuel Kirimunda, Joram Sonko for Business Today. All right, now more Business Today continues as elsewhere, the Katuna border is stuck in limbo. The residents at the Katuna border have decided to shun cross-border trade in consideration for far-fetched alternatives. The business community confirms poor progress without access to Rwanda, and the two-town council expresses revenue shortage with hope vested in government intervention. We have more in this report.
The Uganda-Rwandan borders were reopened recently on the 31st January 2022 after spending 3 solid years closed. Rwandan President Paul Kagame had closed the border on February the 27th, 2019 after allegedly accusing Ugandan authorities of spying on Rwanda, abducting Rwandan citizens, as well as hosting and facilitating dissidents who had allegedly declared war on Rwanda administration. However, businesses have never taken shape after reopening, with the business community struggling to sustain their businesses. According to the Katuna Business Community Chairperson, Franco Korinako, most of the businesses have failed to resurrect because the Ugandan business community are not allowed to do business in Rwanda. The situation is further worsened by the fact that Ugandans who own land in Rwanda are not allowed to cross and cultivate it. Mr. Korinako implored both presidents to convene dialogue and take appropriate actions to harmonize the situation. The Katuna business community still believes that both governments still need to rearrange in spite of the reopening of the border.
The situation is still lagging and is quite challenging. Business people have not been allowed to cross except for trucks. We are not able to see our relatives because we lack access.
Karen Rengabo, a businesswoman and landlady, said that they have made huge losses from the time the border was closed up to date, since most of the businesses collapsed. Ever since they closed the border, even when it was reopened, businesses are still not stable. According to the town clerk, Katuna Town Council, Christmas Byaruhanga challenged the business community to remain patient and calm as government paves the way forward. He noted that the border situation has also affected the authorities since the town council cannot generate the annual 100 million it collected from taxes.
The border, I can say it is now open, but businesses are not going on well. So when the business community are complaining, they are very right. Businesses are not going on well. We are not receiving we are not collecting revenues. The revenues we are collecting, they are very, very, very small.
Uganda reopened its border after convening a dialogue between the then Commander Land Forces, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, and President Paul Kagame over the long-existing misunderstanding between the two countries. Nobad Ndiamhaji, Masekatsime for Smart24 TV. Business Today.
Now we talk matters recoverable oil projections, as the estimated 6.5 billion barrels of crude oil in the Albertine Graben, with about 1.4 billion recoverable under prevailing conditions, might be increased up to 2 billion Ugandan shillings as the Energy Ministry continues to explore more possibilities. Ronan Ahabwe has details.
On 30th January 2008, Cabinet approved to guide the development of Uganda's emerging oil and gas sector following the discovery of commercial petroleum resources in 2006. According to Petroleum Authority's Ernest Rubondo, the sources to explore are immense, but it will depend on how the current recoverables are managed.
The country will be receiving between $1 and $2 billion in the treasury, and that means a lot. But just bear in mind that is for the oil which has been confirmed and the fields that have been appraised. You must be aware that the minister has licensed other areas, and it will be interesting to see how successful exploration over those areas is. If it is as successful as these ones, and you double the reserves that Uganda has, we could be looking at a different picture. You might not build a second pipeline.
Fossil fuels are here to stay, but of course they have to be exploited in a sustainable manner. So that is really our philosophy, to continue exploitation of fossil fuel in a very sustainable manner.
Frank Mugisha, the Acting Commissioner of Petroleum Exploration and Development, further explains that government has begun exploring frontier such as Moroto, Choga Basin. Money needs to be invested in research and accumulation centers to continue the energy integration in the oil and gas industry. Amid its climate protection demands and sustainable production, research has been benchmarked for success with major methods and techniques considered to increase oil recovery. For instance, gas and steam injection plus polymer flooding, amongst others. But still, accumulation centers have to be established.
Kingfisher and Terenga projects that are going to deliver first oil. I must say that the oil we've established in Albert Graben is 6.5 billion barrels. But out of this, 1.4 billion barrels is recoverable. And maybe I need also to tell you that all this oil is in less than 10% of areas that are licensed in the Albert and Graben, meaning that you have 90% of Albert and Graben we are yet to establish the resources. We don't want that situation. We want to have the plateau, production at the plateau level, prolonged for a number of years, and the entire production cycle to go beyond 25 years. So that's why we have to continue exploring in the remaining parts of Albert and Graben, and also explore the frontier basins.
Irene Batebe, the permanent secretary of the ministry, stresses the essence of the refinery in this venture, emphasizing a return on investment sustainability.
When you look at Uganda today, but also the wider East Africa region, we are all importing product from the Arabian Gulf and Singapore. So for us, it poses a risk of security of supply. So that's why this refinery is very fundamental for our supply. And it has all the ingredients for success because the market is assured, the feedstock is assured, and we have undertaken our feasibility studies, and it's a robust project in terms of its economic viability, giving very healthy return on investment.
During a press conference earlier this year, while highlighting 2022-2023 milestones for Uganda's oil sector, Energy Minister Ruth Nankabirwa told journalists that the refinery final investment decision will be closed this June for the project to coincide with the start of the commercial oil production in the late 2025. Runana Habwe, Smart24 TV, Business Today.
All right, now away from that, let's talk the Northern Corridor recovery. As the Northern Corridor Transit and Transport Coordination Authority has confirmed an increase in the flow of goods following President William Ruto's reverse of clearing rights to the Mombasa port. Now, a slight increase in cargo handling by rail has been attributed to safety, and there is a shift reliance on the standard gauge railway. Naomi Mutumba has more.
The Northern Corridor, a multimodal trade route linking the maritime port of Mombasa to East Africa's interior, has generally been a backbone for growth in trade. Road safety along the corridor has, however, been a concern to member states. While launching a road safety campaign along the corridor, the authority's executive director, Omai Nyarandi, has indicated an increase in the flow of goods 6 months after President Ruto ordered that all cargo clearance be reverted to the port of Mombasa. Kenyan government has been urged to fasten the completion of a number of roads linking Kenya to other countries and at the Northern Corridor belt to enable the easier flow of goods from the port city of Mombasa and Lamu to the rest of the region.
Immediately the president made a pronouncement. There was a slight increase in cargo movement on the road, and the cargo carried by SGR went down. But this has stabilized again. We are seeing equal even before the president made the measure. What has happened is that because the cargo owners, the shippers, having started using SGR, have found it now comfortable to continue using SGR, apart from those shippers who have many motor vehicles on their own. So there is increase, yes, on the road section, but just a slight increase, around 10%.
As countries push for reliable infrastructure, East Africa member states such as South Sudan has also been asked to allocate more funds for the road project, with a lot of time lost in transit. World Bank has also pledged $40 million to fix road infrastructure.
If you look at the Northern Corridor section in Kenya, most of the roads are good to very good. The same to Uganda and Rwanda. In South Sudan, we still have a major challenge. We have decided as Northern Corridor Secretariat to invest in doing their transport master plan policy and the regulations. We have also brought stakeholders in South Sudan, including World Bank, who have pledged $40 million to start repair of roads. Now, having said that, when we come to Lamu has not picked up because of the infrastructure developments that are not complete and the intense marketing that will be done to shipping lines to use Lamu. So there's still work to be done.
Mombasa Port and the Northern Corridor Community Charter targets a port load of 35.90 million by December 2024. Falling freight has, among the many factors, been attributed to poor infrastructure. Naomi Mtumba, Smart24 TV, Business Today.
Meanwhile, in Jinja, fire guards Keshwala factory, as this is a Keshwala group factory based in Jinja. The 3 a.m. incident, which persisted for the greater part of today's morning, has left property worth billions destroyed and over 1,000 jobs lost. This and more with Martha Nimsima.
Jinja's manufacturing sector has today woken up to a blazing fire and dark clouds as Keshwala Group's factory in Masese went ablaze. The group is known for production of household items such as polythene, matchboxes, and candles, while offering transport services for imported products, was left in disbelief following the 3 a.m. incident. Property worth billions has been lost and over 1,000 jobs sidelined in the meantime. Jinja police for the greater part of the day been tasked to extinguish the fire, which took over 5 hours, although no fatalities were registered. This is reported to be the second time the factory has to deal with an arson case. Some of the afflicted individuals have informed about loss of money intended for their saving and cooperative organizations, as proprietors were crestfallen to express remorse.
Should be an obligation of any company, you get it? So if they have not implemented it, then there is tomorrow. Life is not ending today. Yes.
Uganda's business sector has had to deal with arson incidents since the start of the year. Kampala recently registered a similar occasion at Shauri Yako, just like it previously was in Kisenyi. Jinja has thus been the latest on the list. Martha Nimsima, Smart24 TV, Business Today.
All right, now let's continue looking at the global economic outlook, as the World Bank's annual spring meeting shall be held soon. That will be from the 10th to the 16th this month in Washington, D.C., to discuss the state of the global economy and other critical issues. Meanwhile, the global players such as bankers, financial leaders, private sector and economists do anticipate a reaction to avert the current economic crisis. More in this report.
Ahead of the 2023 spring meetings, World Bank Group President Davis Malpass, while addressing the challenges facing development policy in Niger, showcased the need for microeconomic stability and the importance of private capital to international integration.
Achieving macroeconomic stability is critical, not least because fiscal recklessness compromises essential services and inflation penalizes the poor the most. Second, sound policies to promote private investment should always remain a top priority, because without them, there would be no economic growth.
During the recent event of the World Bank on Growth and Stability, President Mohamed Bolsoun emphasized the need for financing in all sectors in Africa so as to boost the economic flow.
Be up to par of the ambitions, we have to mobilize financial resources beyond what we have now. So I would like to seize this opportunity to launch an appeal to our partners in the World Bank Group so that the process of reform be supported with additional financing up to our ambitions.
The World Bank spring meetings that are a week away from taking place will discuss the most pressing challenges facing our world today and how best to promote growth, equality and prosperity for all.
All right, now, that aside, we take a break. We shall be returning with more business today with other business reports.
Smart24 Driving Business.
Sky. Futinbuto, the taste of Uganda in a new international park.
He must be rich, tall, handsome, from a respectable family. He must have a maid because at our home we do not work.
Conductor Masao.
What? Obadde olobye ku ssimu?
Yamunange anti yo TV enkolera.
Nyumirwa omulembe omupya ogujjudde ebisanyusa omuli emikutu gya TV egisukka mu 8 n'egya radio nga kwotadde ne zifirimu ng'osinziirira wonna w'oli. Genda mu App Store oteeke app ya Yo TV channels ku simu yo olwo onyumirwa ennaku 3 ng'olabira bwereere ewatali kozesa data.
Yo TV channels. Luxury redefined at Seasand Hotel as you indulge in the splendor of elegant living fit for the royalty that you are. Step into comfort, pampering and blissful customer-centric service as you select from our range of comfy, exquisite living quarters furnished to meet with your royal preference. Surrounded by scenic beauty, our tropical setting allows you to escape the glamorous ordeal of city life. Our ambient green gardens will guide you to a place of revitalizing rest. The 3-star restaurant caters to your palate, serving your choice menu ranging from exotic cuisines to local delicacies. Our chefs will serve you full course meals for a truly out-of-this-world culinary experience. Our fully stocked bar to whet your throat, from renowned global brand whisks, brandies, gins, beers and wines to our locally celebrated beverages, you will not lack for any brewage. It's an all-new experience in the East at Seasand Hotel. So visit today at plot 15 to 19 Spire Road, Ginger, or contact us on +256 751 719 960 and +256 785 354 614 for reservations. Seasand Hotels, luxury redefined.
Smart24 Driving Business.
We'll be back to business today. Now, PDM does look like a priority here in the country. As Honorable Justin Kasule Lumumba has re-echoed commitments to the parish development model, referring it to a game changer and a priority by the government. In our submission to Parliament, the development project fully embeds all the sustainable goals and development, and it should be as well remembered that the parish development model has been clustered with allegations of corruption and a battle to meet intended goals. Samla Hanifa has details.
The Sustainable Development Goals are a global call to end poverty, protect the environment while ensuring that people everywhere can enjoy peace and prosperity. Honorable Lumumba said that the government has made a significant progress in implementing the SDGs. She revealed that government has already implemented the National Development Programme 3 for the 2030 agenda, whose focus included fighting malaria, supporting people with disabilities, digitalization and fostering food security, among others.
Development model as a last mile strategy, I want to assure the leader of opposition that we are in it together. We as leaders in this country at this time, it is our responsibility to make sure we have it work. What we maybe have to improve on is the time and space and the forum for discussion, so that we appreciate the challenges and find solutions together to whatever challenges we are faced with. But it is the program that government has brought that covers all of the SDGs. Because when you...
On their part, the legislators castigated government for ignoring issues of climate change, corruption, which they argue undermines the progress of achieving the Sustainable Development Goals.
But without fighting corruption as one of the goals in our SDGs, there is no way we are going to implement them effectively. Because whatever we shall try to do, corruption will undermine it.
Corruption denies the country resources to target resources to areas which SDG is pointing at. So it's very, very important that we should plug that particular hole which is taking a lot of resources.
So we have not made an effort of really getting our officials, technical officials, right from the local governments to the higher levels, to realign and make this data user-friendly, such that we can be able to make use of it and guide the development process. So
the legislators also tasked government to provide annual review reports on the SDGs so as to track the progress of their implementation.
The secretariat that is responsible for following up with the implementation, and then we are able to get a report from our minister every year. Different countries register their participation in the political forum. Uganda, we have ever registered once, but they measure our performance based on the number of voluntary national reviews that we have participated in internationally. So we request that even when we have not participated in the national reviews, let us get a periodic review of the...
The Deputy Speaker of Parliament tasked the Leader of Opposition to prepare an alternative statement on the country's goals.
Very comprehensive statement which the Minister has presented, that would need at least an alternative in terms of how you've assessed what is being achieved. And we can use Rule 53, or Rules of Procedure, where the Leader of Opposition is given leeway to present a statement on any matter, and that statement would be debated. Okay?
The acting Leader of Opposition, on the other hand, informed government that they would present an alternative statement on the issue.
PDM, to be sincere, it is devoid of implementation strategy. Would it be the one that would raise our hopes, our ray of hope, that it would deliver us to the much promised land, okay, Canaan? Mr. Speaker, the whole cabinet had to sit with the Ministry of Health to discuss how to combat malaria. Malaria has been here for ages. Would it require a whole cabinet to grapple with a two-day meeting to discuss how to stop it, when countries, by the way, have already secured vaccines?
All right, now, yesterday the Parliamentary Committee on Finance ditched the ministry's 16.7 trillion budget to finance unfunded priorities. Now, such funding has partly been sourced from both domestic and external borrowing. With Uganda's debt increasing and currently at 86.6 trillion Ugandan shillings, there is growing fear over sustainability in the country. Penson Mumbere did find some time to link up with Harold Kaija, who is an economist and opposition member, whose pact previously presented a 32 trillion budget that contrasts with government's 50.9 trillion Ugandan shillings. So we get deeper in understanding how effective would this be.
Okay, very good evening, Sonko. Now, first things comes first. The Uganda's public debt, according to information from the Minister of Finance, has risen to 80 trillion, and this has affected the private sector investment in Uganda. Despite the government's position that it's within the manageable ranges, but economists are warning the government of Uganda that much as we are managing this, we are going to surpass the 50% threshold, and that is going to be a very hard thing to manage. With me is Harold Kaija, is a politician, a researcher, and the best of it is an economist who is going to tell us what should we expect and what does this mean to the economy of Uganda. You're most welcome, Mr.
Thank you so much.
Tell us
I'm happy
what
to
is.
be with you.
Thank you very much. You have had the information. Of course, people have different perception of this, and people have different numbers. But according to the Minister of Finance, we have hit 80 trillion. From your own perspective as an economist, what do you think should be done, and what does this mean to the economy?
Apparently, everybody must mourn for this country. It is not 80, it is 86 trillion. Okay. By June 2022, actually the real figures, domestics were 38.1 trillion, and then foreign was 48.5 trillion, which makes it 86.6 trillion. With the way they do their things, it could even be 90 trillion, which is about 53 point something of GDP. Yeah. It must scare anybody. That's why you've had government saying that they want to hold on to stop borrowing. Because we are speaking about, things are not bad, They are like in the Things Fall Apart book of Chinua Achebe, the father of Okonkwo. I'm forgetting his name. That for him, he used to write everybody who lent him money in his heart. So whenever he would come to ask for money, tell you, no, but you see, I know you lent me money. But you see, when I am paying, I start from the top. And you are there, but now they are still feeling it. This government has been too reckless and not reminding about the people of Uganda. Because as anybody must be aware, that in about 1991, Uganda was cleared of any debt. In about 2002, 2003, again they came and said, yes, we are forgiven. Actually, we're using the right word, being forgiven. So, but you see, the thirst for picking loans has never reduced in this country. And
then they're saying there is no need of an alarm because they're in the public debt stock at the moment. It is within the manageable range. That's the information from the permanent secretary from the Ministry of
but you
Finance.
see, that is that is the politics of it. But the reality, we are feeling it because today, as things move, what we are doing is what we call rolling over of debts. Every time you forgive me and change into a debt, and so that it keeps piling. You wait, I'll pay. So it keeps piling. So when it keeps piling, it brings a problem of we call it refinancing risk. Yeah. Refinancing risk is where lenders are no longer ready to lend you when you need it. If it's in the domestic kind of like borrowing, you reach at the time when lenders are asking for bigger premium. That bigger premium affects the interest rate. So when the interest rate increases, that means even the people, the businessmen, get scared of picking loans.
They can't invest anymore.
So when they cannot invest anymore, we eventually get inflation. So anybody who tells you that don't get scared is on a liar, misleading the people.
What do you think we should do?
No, the behavior, you see, when you start lending for recurrent expenditure instead of production or development expenditure, then you're in a crisis. You say a country that picks loans to pay salaries, even paying debts, to go and buy guns, which kind of investments, and even to increase the number of administrative units, like districts, like cities, and the like. That puts the pressure. Because if you are borrowing money, and you're borrowing money for a wedding, it is hard for you to pay it. Because you've not invested it in your business. Your colleague was ready to invest in his business, you'll be able to get profits and be able to pay back. So in our kind of scenario, we pay for such situations. There was a time we borrowed money from PTA Bank a few years ago and borrowed $200 million US. That money never went to buy drugs. Because when you buy drugs and people are healthy, it means their productivity and being able to come back to work is high. But now when people are sick, they spend more time not working. They are weak. Even when they're working, they are weak. It becomes a serious crisis. Then you look at our debt. Because of our kind of politics, we no longer get concessional debts. Concession debts, the loans, these are loans that have good conditions. I would get good conditions, affordable conditions. Like a loan, they tell you, you have a grace period of about 40 years. The interest rate is 2%. But those loans have conditions, most especially on governance issues, human rights, and the like. So eventually, we run to non-concessional loans. Those are loans that even before the money reaches here, the lender needs his interest, needs some premium. And then so at the end of the day, you can't manage. Then you find a situation whereby government comes and buys and borrows locally. That also affects the economy because these are commercial loans through selling of treasury bills and bonds. These are commercial loans. That leads to, because it leads to increase in the interest rates. Then because they are competing with the local businessmen, even also increases the interest required on the businessmen. That's why you see the dollar is up there. That's why you see rent is high there for buildings around Kampala, because most of the money that is used to construct these buildings is money from borrowed money. So anybody who lies to you.
But these people have always told us that we can't live without getting these loans, because at the end of the day, you need roads. At the end of the day, you need hospitals.
No, yes,
and now,
we do.
Yes.
Yes,
So
we
we can't live without getting these loans.
Yes, we do. But I must tell you, we went and picked loans to construct Bujagali. Bujagali Dam of 250 megawatts was constructed at about $1 billion, more than that. A similar dam was constructed in India at $250 million. That means where an Indian would have 4 dams, we are having 1. So most of the money was stolen. So if it is borrowed money is stolen and you've not used it, that means you pay twice. So it's the reason why you see even the price of electricity is literally high, cannot be affordable. So if only use 250 million and somebody sold the 750 million, you can't basically pay that. You've heard the KCCA talk about the prices or the quotation of roads, a kilometer at 15 billion, when it is actually a kilometer is about 5 billion. So where you would have 3 kilometers you're having 1. 2 is eaten, but you must pay back the what? If that money was borrowed and injected in serious projects, and there's value for money, nobody will be quarreling. If we had very good hospitals, and I do not need to go to a private hospital, that would mean the money I save, let me pay what? Let's pay the loan. If the roads are good, and I don't need to go to keep in the garage to be fixing because of the potholes, there would be no problem. If the roads are wide and I do not have to spend a lot of time in jam, there will be no problem. If there are tractors and production is high, food is at a low, food prices are low, and then we are able even to sell and get more dollars, there will be no problem. But when you ask these so much money, for saying, yes, you have borrowed these 86 trillion, tell us what has been done in this money. Because even the negotiation of these loans is against Uganda. How? You find, they are middlemen. When there was a time when we picked a loan to come and teach Ugandans on how to wash hands. Really? Islam teaches so. Schools teach so. Even our cultures teach so. And someone tells you they are picking a loan to come and teach Ugandans on how to wash hands. You saw the COVID money, which were literally loans. Because between 2018 and to date, we've added, it was about 40 trillion. Now it's more than 107% increase. But the Auditor General was telling you 4 trillion cannot be accounted for.
What do you make of the narrative that Uganda is not bad? They always compare us with the Gambia and Ghana. They say Ghana is doing bad when it comes to loan, public debt, whatever.
Now let me tell you.
And now they're saying, for Uganda's side, at least somehow, there's no need of an alarm. What do you make of that?
Now let me tell you. Never compare yourself with the worst.
Okay.
Always, if you want to progress, I want to tell you, compare yourself with the best. How is Gambia? Look at Gambia, the size, the economy, and the like. So want to compete with the best? With the worst? When you want to be the best? Now you see, every shilling that we collect in taxes, 30%, 30 cents go in debt financing. That means you remain with 70 cents, of which some must be stolen. Because as they told in about 2021, at 10 trillion in every budget, it is money stolen. By 200 people each takes home 50 billion.
Yes, I read the Auditor General.
Yes, and most of that money is borrowed money. Every time you hear a scandal, it's kind of...
Shall we always live in the book of Lamentations?
It's not lamentation, but that is where we are. So if you lose a person today, and lose another tomorrow, and lose another on Friday, so when you lose another on Saturday, you celebrate?
Give us solutions.
As an
economist.
You see, government, but of course this government must realign its what? Its priorities. Government must curb on public expenditure. We must look at our income and expenditure. Do not make a very huge budget, very ambitious budget, when your revenue are still low. Secondly, reduce spending money in like classified expenditure, a lot of money that is spent in the state house, a lot of money spent in the military, and put money in production. Improve your human rights record so that you are acceptable in institutions that give concessional loans.
Let us pick the opposition's alternative budget that was in Parliament just of recent. Others say it is 32 trillion. Others say it is more than that. What do you make of that budget? Because of course you also have some other sectors that they are looking at, like energy, transport and work, something like that. What do you make of that budget?
Yeah, I believe it's a good budget. It's only that it's good, but it cannot be implemented. Because apparently, Mr. Museveni and his team do not look at the opposition as opposition. They are seen as enemies. So we are captives trying to liberate ourselves. So what we say and do remain on paper. Very good ideas. If government was speak on it, you would see drastic changes. Therefore, where to put money in education, where to put money in agriculture, where to put money even in Kampala on how to do the transportation. In education, they are talking about money in feeding, revisiting the curriculum, employing teachers and even giving them remuneration. Health sector, the same thing, trying to make sure recruit more, train them, increase their budget, and the like. You would see put money in agriculture, look at climate change effects, how to mitigate them, increase money in seeds and farm implements like the one that we need, the tractors and the like. That would, because you're going to talk about agriculture and you're not talking about technology. You don't address the climate change. So you look at our opposition budget, when actually it is talking about the real issues that must be attended to.
But already you're demoralized. You're saying it won't be implemented.
It is a good thing, but the guy is in charge.
The leader of opposition is too hard on it.
No, he is hard on it, but he's not the implementer. He doesn't have the monies to implement it. If actually we had been allowed that everybody is given money, let's see who will give us the best results. That will give you the best results. But that won't happen. But it would be, I would basically ask any Ugandan to go and read it. Go and look at what we are saying on technology, what we are saying on agriculture, on education, on health. You would see money is put where people are. So that if such money is borrowed money, people feel it.
I understand.
Even those guys giving concessional loans would want to finance it. Because they see, yes, these guys have an agenda, and if we give them our money, I'm going to come back. But you're going to see tomorrow Chinese and others coming to pick their money. Because today every Uganda has a debt of more than 1.5 million. Even the young kid that has been produced today, even the one dying. If actually Muslims would use their teachings that everybody must pay their debts before they are buried, let me tell you, Mr. Taxman would be here. Say, give us our money. So we are in a very bad situation that can only be addressed by transition. Traditional government, because you see, Uganda is an ICU, intensive care unit of any hospital, whereby the heart is dead, the lungs cannot breathe, the brain is off. The Baganda would say, like that is the serious ICU. Somebody is just blinking because there is oxygen. The moment you press the off button of the oxygen, we are dead.
The president has always said that we have the best economists here who are running this government. Most of them have been given jobs here to work for us. Even you are an economist, you are here.
I don't work
he always put blames on you.
No, I don't work for government. But I've always put forward my ideas. I've spoken to the Minister of Finance. I have spoken to the PS. Both guys, the good thing, I know them. I know many of the guys that are in Minister of Finance. We went to school together. We meet and talk. But they even tell you their reservations. I spoke to them when they are bringing OTT. I don't know, that is a non-starter. They went and spoke to the big man. The big man said no. After a few months, they had to shelve it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Harold Kager. That has been Harold Kager trying to give his perspective about the public debt stock that we are having at the moment. Now, he's saying this is the time we should invest where we're expecting a return on investment, not borrowing to pay debts. Back to you, Joram Sonko, in the studios.
All right, thank you very much, Peterson Mumbere, for that particular discussion. As we're summing up with business today, though, let's first have a look at the rewind of our top stories.
In business today, 3 a.m. Infano Ghats Kashwara Group factory in Jinja, property worth billions lost and over 1,000 jobs cited. Northern Corridor trade route registers increase in flow of goods following William Ruto's reversal of clearing rights to Mombasa. And Uganda Lorry Corporation suspends passenger services for 6 months as SGR project attains shape.
All right, now there you have it. Many thanks for being part of business today. It's 7 minutes to the top of the hour. I'm Jerome Paul Sonko with Winnie Wins and Akauchi in sign language, and we've been coming to you live from Block 42, Nile Avenue. Till tomorrow, have a good night.